As I stumbled my way through awkward presentations and video projects, I began to enjoy learning a new language, especially during my trip to Spain with Mrs. Maycomer my junior year. When I was looking at colleges, I knew I needed to go abroad again, so I chose the International Engineering Program at URI. The IEP program is 5 years long, and as Ms. Hoskins has said, allows students to study abroad for 1 semester and work an internship abroad for another. And 10 days from today, I will be graduating with degrees in biomedical engineering and Spanish. I'd like to tell you my favorite story about my time abroad. As part of my internship in Chile, I was required to write informes, or reports about my time spent in Chile, in Spanish, of course. One day during the first month of my stay, my coworker was reading over one of my informes. About halfway through, she started laughing out loud and called everybody into the office to read what I had written. And I was like, oh no, this is not going to be good. In the informe, I had written about a waitress, Claudia, who was very interested in meeting me, a gringo from North America, because she was learning English at her university. And I suggested in my report that maybe an intercambio de lenguas, or an exchange of languages, would be a great opportunity for both of us to improve our second language. Eileen explained to me, amid much laughter, that the Spanish word lenguas literally translated to tongues. And I had inadvertently suggested in a report to my boss that I perform a tongue exchange. The waitress whom I had just met. For me, this errant translation caused some laughs and mockery, but in the long term, it actually helped improve my overall office camaraderie. And to this day, actually last week, I sometimes get a Facebook message from an ex-coworker asking, have you seen Claudia lately? Even though I'm over 5,000 miles away from the city. Anybody who has gone abroad can agree, language plays a huge part in international travel. Some of you may have gone abroad for vacation. Maybe a few of the parents have studied abroad. Those of you who have know what it's like to try to order a coffee in Madrid, sample gelato in Rome, or travel Paris asking directions along the way. Maybe some of the parents have worked abroad, truly immersing themselves in the culture of their new surroundings. Those who spoke the language of their home country knew how much of a difference it made, and those who didn't probably wish they did at one point or another. It is my belief that with our growing use of technology and the globalization that many organizations, companies, and even universities are currently going through, studying language and culture is more important now than ever. I spent much of my last year studying and working abroad. In the fall of 2013, I was in San Sebastian, Spain, studying at Technoon, taking 4 classes in Spanish. I lived with Spaniards, and I traveled around Europe. My time spent in Spain was eye-opening. I learned that I could fly from France to Sweden for 15 euros, that the Macarena was, in fact, originally a Spanish song, and I had to dry my clothes by hanging them up on a clothesline. I don't think I'm ever going to take clothes dry for granted again. I also learned that despite the distance, life abroad could be very similar to life in the U.S., even at the university level. In the spring of 2014, I was in Concepcion, Chile, working for Novacare Medical, a Chilean company that sells and repairs medical equipment for use in hospitals and doctors' offices nationwide. I worked as part of a team of project managers providing support for salesmen in the field. I also became the brand specialist for Fukuda Denshi ultrasounds. Conversing with contacts in Japan, China, Switzerland, and Germany became a part of my daily routine. And I loved it. Everyone always asks me what I enjoyed more, Spain or Chile. But my experiences in each country and each continent were so different that I really can't say. In Chile, as well as in Spain, I had to adapt to the cultural norms that come with studying and working in another region. This is not something that can be taught in its entirety, but must be learned through experience. For example, a kiss on the cheek or a handshake at the beginning of every workday and the end of every workday was definitely something that, to me, at first seemed very strange. However, it quickly became a part of my normal day. Mealtimes are another norm that took some adjusting to because, let's be honest, who doesn't love to eat? Lunch at 2 p.m. in the afternoon and dinner at 10:30 p.m. were always the highlight of my day, even if I had to wait a little bit longer than I was used to. When I came back from Chile, I did an interview with the local newspaper, and they asked me, but how does studying abroad really make you more worldly? To which I answered using examples. I know now that if I sent an emergency late in the afternoon email to a rep in Japan, that I wouldn't get an answer until the following morning or later due to the time differences. I know which contacts I can talk to in English, which ones in Spanish, and how formal I need to be. I know that if I send an inter-office email at Novacare, it always begins with a formal introduction and ended with saludos cordiales, no matter how friendly I was with that particular employee. I know that in Chile, when somebody tells me I've put on weight as they rub my stomach, it's a good thing, and not at all as offensive as it would be here in the US. I know that when a Chilean asks me in-depth questions about our economy and politics, it's not because they're criticizing it, but that they're genuinely interested. It's these international interactions that I believe can make or break a meeting between two international companies or organizations. Before I left for my year abroad, I heard the term reverse culture shock. And I remember thinking, that's not a real thing, that's not going to happen to me. But it is, and it did. Here's an example. I got off the plane at JFK Airport, and I couldn't believe that I was finally home. On the way to my house, we stopped at my grandma's. I turned on the faucet to wash my hands, and hot water came out. I had completely forgotten that most bathroom sinks have hot and cold water taps. And to make the day even better, I actually fit in my bed without having my feet hang over my bed. It took me a few days to stop responding to my parents in Spanish every time they asked me a question. I'm amazed at the impact my experience abroad has had on my current everyday life. When I was back home between my semesters abroad, I remember watching the Coca-Cola Super Bowl commercial, maybe some of you remember it, where America the Beautiful was sung in many different languages. Many people were outraged, saying things like, "This is America, learn English or go home." I felt the opposite. I was proud. Proud to be part of a nation that accepts people of all backgrounds. We are an immigrant nation after all. I'd like to thank Coca-Cola for reminding us that we are beautiful because of and not in spite of our linguistic diversity. I've spoken mostly Spanish, however all languages are equally important. Some of you will go into college where you may pursue further language studies. My advice to you is study hard, but enjoy it. Go abroad and totally immerse yourself in the culture. Some of you may choose not to further your language studies. And to you, my advice is remain aware of the different cultures, ethnicities, and races out there. You never know if your future careers will have you traveling abroad or contacting workers from other countries. To my parents, who are here tonight, and to all the parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, siblings, and whoever else might be in this auditorium right now, thank you for your constant support. You may not always be thanked for being with us during those late nights, those sporting events, those award ceremonies, but know that we could not do it without you. It is because of the families in this room that we are the young men and women that we have grown up to be. I've tried to fit as much information as possible into the speech, but I have a million more things to say about my experiences abroad. So if anyone would like to talk to me or ask me questions during the reception, please come find me. Thank you.